there's still a chance that Liverpool will make one big one.
One big one?
I think so.
What do you mean big?
An attacking, someone from, in the attacking third where...
Well, make your mind up. You said someone wouldn't sign him earlier on because they couldn't get in the side.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
I didn't.
Yes, he did. He said, who's not going to get in the side in front of Salah? There's only one space available.
I
Who's going
said
to sign
there's
for
a limited group of players that they'll be...
Difficult to follow, Danny. You're flip-flopping.
No, I'm not. You're
Feels like it.
Making things up. Like you
go
do a
along.
lot to get through the show.
At least I don't pad.
Like you do about Messi. But... Well, you were saying, no, I can't really see a massive one coming in.
It's a difficult market when you're trying to bring someone in who's going to be competitive with the front players they've got. Because there's not many players out there who are that talented who are going to be able to nudge any of them out of the team. They brought Jota in, who has nearly done it in parts. In fact, they've played all four at times.
Danny. What? I mean, come on. Look at the business City are doing.
Yeah.
And it's not over yet. United.
Well, I'll ask you a question. So City got more options, but when you're talking about the quality, so would you have Salah or Mahrez?
Would you have
Salah or Mahrez?
Oh, you'd have Salah. I would have Salah.
Would you have Mane or Sterling? Difficult, 50-50, whatever. Mane or Grealish? So we're not talking about City having these players who are much better. We're talking about having more options in attacking areas, which is why I'm saying Liverpool have got to be cuter and more careful because they haven't got the same funding as City. So if you want to go and spend 60 million, 50 million, 70 million on a player who's going to sit on the bench for 25 games, that's hard. That's a hard sell.
Do you know but that is the world that they're in.
It is.
It is the world
and
they're
what
in.
I've just listened to is a load of old pony, right? Because it's not interesting to suggest that they can't replicate the atmosphere. Of course, these clubs can replicate the atmosphere. Manchester United can replicate atmospheres. Clubs can replicate atmospheres. No, they can't replicate the song because they all have their own individual songs. What they can do is buy better players, right? So all of that stuff will be wonderful, and there's lovely little sound bites for Jurgen to fill some time whilst answering a question. The next question should be, can you win the league with this squad? Because that's a task in hand. That's the question that needed to be asked next, because the answer would have to be probably not.
Well, no, because he actually did answer that, didn't he, by saying, I'm completely happy if I go into the season with the group of players.
Yeah, but he wasn't asked the question. You may well be happy to be competing in the top four. The question is, Jurgen, your job now, blueprint for you, Liverpool, is to win back the Premier League that you lost last year. Can you do it with a squad of players?
Well, the answer is obvious. There's no way in the world he would turn around and say no. Of course he'd say yes. To be the most obvious question anybody ever asked him. You can't be the manager of Liverpool and go after being champions of Europe and then first time champions of England 2 years season before last. He's not going to go into this season and say that he can't win the league. He's not going to do that.
No, but I wonder though, Danny. I'm just
no chance.
Well, you wouldn't give it a margin. You wouldn't give it a margin. Say it's going to be challenging. Other teams have spent a lot of money, we need to match those teams. So it'll be difficult for us to do so.
But he didn't match them when they won it, so he's not going to say we need to match them financially.
Really?
But for Jurgen here, Danny, is history not
maybe
somewhat...
£75 million? Sorry, hang on a second. £75 million centre back and £75 million goalkeeper isn't matching them. No. Go back to your point. When they won the league, they bought a £75 million centre back and a £75 million goalkeeper.
Not the summer before they
in
won
and
the
around
league.
That vicinity of time. So they were matching the spend.
You can't start saying in and around a year before.
In the Champions League final, and following that, the Premier League, they go and buy a goalkeeper. And they go and buy a centre-back in and around an 18-month period to match the spend pattern of Man City. So they went toe-to-toe with the big clubs and bought players that gave them the opportunity to compete.
The simple fact is, the year they didn't win the league, the next season after, they didn't sign anybody. And they won the league. So what we're talking about is a narrative where you have to be competitive with the people around you who keep signing players. You don't. It's been proven that you don't. What did Man City do in the summer of last before they then won the league back?
I don't recall. Tell me.
No, but...
Diaz. So
but Danny, we're talking about time sensitivity. Is it not somewhat ominous that in the middle of last season, when they could have strengthened in January and there was a defensive crisis going on at Liverpool,
yeah, well, they've done
they
that
didn't.
Now. They should have, but they didn't.
But they got away with it.
To a degree, they got away with it. They did get away with it. You're talking about goalkeepers scoring headers off corners in the last minute at West Brom. I concur. I agree. But what they've done is they've addressed the defensive side, and they've got Virgil back, and they've got Konate, and they've kept Matip, and they've kept Gomez. So they're fine in that department. We're talking about attacking area, really. Is the only... Full of midfielders. Got loads of midfielders. Attacking area. Can they cope? Another season, we're just relying on the front three and Jota, really.
And can they?
Take the risk.
Give me a name, Danny. If there was an ideal addition to be had, who would that ideal? And remember, Messi's heading to Paris.
I personally wouldn't sign anybody if I was Klopp, unless I thought they could go into the 11. I wouldn't sign one.
So you were Klopp. Everything's fine.
No, if you can get one who you think's going to play instead of Firmino or play instead of Mane, sign him. But there's not many about.
I agree with you. The way he dealt with the question, I thought, no.
I see where you're coming from, but if you just take that aside and look at it from a footballing perspective, I'm just saying that I don't agree with the narrative always that you have to spend.
No, I agree with it. I'm absolutely in that camp.
To be competitive, because they have got players coming back, and they are on a, they are still the same squad that walked away. But
you've got players like Firmino that are not. That I think are dropping back a little bit,
maybe
and losing some of their potency, and he was a key component of the reasons why Liverpool was so emphatic on the way that they opened teams up, and so emphatic on the way.
Maybe Jota will take his place.
Maybe, but he's not the same sort of player, though, is he?
No, but you adapt the team, don't you?
So I can take his place in.
Salah could play down the middle, Jota on the wide. Ronaldo played wide for years, then became a central striker. Messi played on the right for years, then became a central striker.
It's like life of Brian sometimes, isn't it? It's like he's making it up as he goes along.
No, but maybe we'll see something different. Might see a different formation.
Mr. Murphy, you dealt with that beautifully. We're coming up to 12 noon. Apparently, as Lionel Messi, the pilot, is just saying, all right, we're on the descent now to Paris. But apparently he's staying in Barcelona. Murphy and Jordan.
Just done a U-turn in the air.
Anyway, it's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Flip Flop Murphy this Monday lunchtime.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Thursday morning, 10 till 1. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.